Hey guys, Tris TV here and welcome to another one of my Arsenal videos. Today I'm going to be going through the worst Arsenal signings of the Premier League decade. First off, starting off with goalkeeper, I'm going to go with the Spaniard Manuel Almunia. Arsenal have had very poor goalkeepers over the years, and Almunia, regarded by Arsenal fans, was the worst goalkeeper, one of the worst goalkeepers that they have seen. But amazingly, he made 175 appearances for the club. But then he eventually lost his place at the start of the 2010 decade, and his error-prone stint finally came to an end when in 2012 the club released him. Right back, Stefan. We're going to go Stefan Lichtsteiner. If I can spell his name correctly, that would be great. Yeah, he's a veteran right back who was signed last summer for Arsenal, but just made 23 appearances for the club and found first team opportunities really hard to come by. Even when Bellerin was injured, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, not even a right back, took over his place, which led him to be just last one season and be released in June. Next player set at centre back is going to be Sebastian Squillaci. One of Arsene Wenger's worst ever signings for £4 million was initially first choice, but soon he fell down in the pecking order after some very dismal performances, and he was fit and available to play for that majority of the 2011 to 12 seasons, but only played 7 times, and it came as no surprise when Arsenal decided to release him in the summer of 2013. Next up, we've got Shkodran Mustafi. He's had a nightmare time at Arsenal. He was a highly rated player at Valencia, coming to the Gunners for 35 million in 2016, but he hasn't even looked like the 35 million pound player that the Gunners booked him, and he's made lots and lots of mistakes in the Premier League, and fans have grown frustrated for him over time, so I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal sold him this summer. Next up, at left back, we've got Andre Santos. Santos, good running, good tracking back as a left back, but honestly, Santos was a terrible left back. There's no arguing about it. Even though he had good performances on the pitch, he even managed to wind up some fans by swapping shirts with Robin van Persie half-time with a match against United. But it proved to be the final straw for fans and the manager, and he was shipped out on loan to Brazil a few months later and left the club permanently the following summer, so it's a shame that he had to leave the following summer. Right mid, not Luis Suarez, another Suarez. Whoops. We've got Denis Suarez. There was a lot of excitement when Arsenal signed him on loan in the January transfer window, coming on loan from Barcelona, and you could tell he was a really solid player, but he lacked the physicality really needed to compete in the Premier League, and only made 6 appearances during his 6 months in North London. So it was a very shambolic time for Denis Suarez at the Arsenal club, so he goes in at right mid. Centre mid might be quite harsh, but we're going to go with Granit Xhaka. signed from Borussia Mönchengladbach in 2016. He hasn't been that bad, but there's been lots of poor decision making he's made on the pitch, sliding in, very reckless tackles, and gets frequently himself red cards. And last year in the game against Crystal Palace in October, he responded to his own fans by telling them to F off, and he's been stripped of the captaincy, so he hasn't looked like the player we seen when we signed him from Borussia Mönchengladbach. Centre mid, another centre mid we've got is a Swede called Kim Kallstrom. It was a really bizarre signing after joining in January of 2014. It took the midfielder months and months before he made his debut, but he'd only make 4 appearances for the club and failed to impress for the manager, so the following summer he was just gone from the club. Left mid, we've got the Gervinho, otherwise known as the Five-Head himself. Signed from Lille in the summer of 2011, £10.8 million. A lot was expected of him when he joined Arsenal because of his raw pace and his talent that he's shown on the pitch, but he failed to hit the heights and left for Roma in 2013, so it was quite a shame that he had to leave the club because he could have been a really, really good player down on that wing for Arsenal. Striker, we've got Yaya Sanogo, otherwise known by the fans as Yaya Sano Goals. He was only 20 when he joined the club, I think back in 2011 or 10, but he only scored 1 goal in 20 appearances for Arsenal, which for a striker is not the expectations that the fans liked, and they expected much better for him when he was signed. So he left permanently the club in 2017 after 5 years at the club. Next up, we've got another player called Marouane Chamakh. I spelled his name wrong. The Moroccan striker had a fairly decent start to the career when he arrived at the Emirates, but it fell apart quite quickly over time. He only played 23 times in I think about 5 seasons and only scored 3 goals in the final 2 seasons at the Emirates Stadium, so there was no surprise that he was out the door by Wenger at that time. And also I've got some honourable mentions in this video that I have to announce. One being Emmanuel Aboué, Johan Giroud, who survived 11 years at the club, Carl Jenkinson, his 8-year spell at the club finally came to an end last summer where he was shipped out to Nottingham Forest, and Emmanuel Frimpong, the academy product, who went on to retire recently and failed to make the grade at Arsenal. Henrik Mkhitaryan wasn't very terrible, but there was a lot of hype around him, but he was sent on loan to Roma at the start of this season. And Park Chu-young, he wasn't a bad striker, but he just wasn't very good in the 6 appearances that Arsene Wenger gave him in Arsenal, so that's why he was out the door. Anyways guys, thank you for tuning in and watching the video. Please like, subscribe, and peace out.